have, but we're in public, so. Hello, everybody. I am calling this September 16th, 2024 regular meeting of the Memphis School Board to order. The time, apologies for being slightly late, is 6:10 p.m. Heather, roll call, please.
Emily Hutchinson Brown.
Here.
Kim Hunter.
Present.
Craig Finale.
Here.
Rachel McWhorter. Here. Victor Figueroa.
Yeah.
Would everybody please rise and join in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I would like to thank everybody for being here tonight and remind you to turn off your cell phones. Sidebar conversations outside. Reminder that this is a meeting of the Board of Education in public rather than a meeting with the public. So behave to y'all. During this meeting, there are 2 times for public participation. First, at the beginning of the meeting to hear comments specific to agenda items. Second, at the end of the meeting when general comments relating to school issues will be heard. And to participate, you will need to sign up on the form over by the door. Let's see. I believe
I will move to approve the agenda.
I have a motion to approve the agenda. Do we have a second?
second.
Any discussion? Heather, call to question.
Craig Finale.
Aye.
Victor Figueroa.
Aye.
Kim Hunter.
Aye.
Emily Hutchinson Brown.
Aye.
Rachel McWhorter.
Aye. Excellent. Do we have a motion for our August 19th minutes?
I move that we approve the August 19 minutes as written.
Second.
Any discussion? Heather, call the question.
Craig Finale.
Aye.
Victor Figueroa.
Aye.
Kim Hunter.
Aye.
Emily Hutchinson Brown.
Aye.
Rachel McWhorter. Aye.
Do we have any signups for public participation, Heather? We do. Excellent. Okay. Then, Mr. Teagle, I would ask you to please present to the board your presentation, your commentary.
Well, I just have a statement from the work session. I got really excited to hear what you said about the pie chart that you just saw, and would love to see if there's a way to share that information somehow, so that people in the community can actually know that, go somewhere to see the benefits or how great the school district is. Because I saw you get really excited, and now I want to be excited, but I don't know why I'm excited. So
I did to influence people.
would love to be with the public to see why you're so excited.
On the website.
I say so just a little background information for that. We just had our audit. Chris Majors was just in here, and so what Tia was referring to is we just had a little pie chart graph of the percentages of where our budget goes to. And so I do think that would be cool to put on there. So we don't need to put any actual numbers, but just the percentages. So basically out of that, out of our full spending, 53% goes straight to instructional staff of our entire budget. And then there's, I put away a few other breakdowns, but that was the big one, is 53% is to instructional
And if you
staff.
couple that with people in instructional services, it actually takes it up to 60%. So a couple comments that I'm gonna make publicly, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to do so. I personally myself, the end of last year, started to write a column for Make Us Matters on behalf of the Board of Education. And this gives me the perfect opportunity to put it out there with some type of and for more, go here. It's my understanding that our audit has always been available to the public. It's just that the public doesn't often want to dive into something that's just kind of not fun, right? So with your suggestion, Tico, I think that I will add to my kind of radar to highlight certain items such as the pie chart, which I love a good pie chart, but also with Chrissy, with your perhaps help. Yeah. Maybe we can dive in a little further and share some real highlights, or Mr. Cordray, you may have some suggestions where we can point out certain things that are crucial to the district. It's not lost on any of us now that we're looking at budgets regularly, and you're part of DAC. You all also get a glimpse. Oh, you're not this year, sorry. You've served some time though. But the glimpse into what the BEST grant did, how we improved our schools. Oh, now we have to maintain the improvements to the school. You know, what does that look like? What does that cost? If the track is damaged, what are we really talking about? Not everybody, I think, hears that in the same voice because they're not listening and paying attention to every single meeting, nor do we expect them to. But I love your idea of a more higher level presentation of our funding, and I will do that.
If we do that, I just would like some clarity on definitions. So for example, if you put other in there, what does other include? When it comes to 20% of other, for example, or if we put instruction, is that only about teachers and staff, or does that include administration? And when we say administration and business, what's that include? Is that the salaries of administrators and the business, central office folks? So just for clarification, when I look at something, I want to be able to determine what am I looking at.
Yeah.
I can guess on what I'm looking at, but I don't want to do that, nor does the public.
Right, and I think you will have people that will want to do the deep dive. And that audit will be available for them to really dive in even deeper.
Sure.
And that's where public education, so that it needs to be available for everybody to.
Yeah, and it's under the financial transparency on the website, and
That's the
Chris
word I
is
was
gonna
looking for.
send me the electronic version to post.
Maybe hyperlink to the
Yeah,
budget.
exactly, it's exactly where I was gonna go with it, so.
Yeah.
We'll need to make sure that we publish that after we, get the audit up on the web, so you and I work together on that.
Okay.
so.
Did you have any other, since we kind of cut that one?
I just got him excited about a pie chart.
Well, I know, but
Woo-hoo.
we kind of all
Win-win.
jumped in, so I want
That's
to make sure
great.
he had anything else.
Thank you, Tigo, for bringing that up, really. We do appreciate you. Okay,
You see,
do you have a, update for us in the beginning of the year for DAC? Do you wanna just kind of set the course?
Yeah,
Mr.
so
Bordering?
the District Accountability Committee met last Tuesday night. And at that meeting, they elected their officers. The District Accountability Committee president is Sarah Rank. The vice president is Victoria Lewis, Peterson Lewis. And the secretary is Adriana Stymex. And at that, they set their agenda. They'll be meeting every second Tuesday of the month from 5:15 to 6:30. They'll be following the same schedule for the objectives, plus additional conversations, things like the budget, maybe SRO conversations, things like that they'll be discussing also. And then at the meeting Tuesday night, the Board of Education, Board President Emily Hutchinson Brown, as well as Vice President Tim Hunter were there for a 30-minute social. So that social was really appreciated and really enjoyable for everyone there. We had probably about 12 people in this room, which is a good size for that committee. So they're off to a good start, and they'll be sending out the minutes tomorrow for that meeting, which happened last Tuesday, to staff, so staff could get the minutes on that. And then after those minutes get approved in October, they'll go on the website for the community to see as well.
Excellent. Okay, I am going to roll us, any questions around DAC? It was a really fun time, and I think that the feedback was people would come for Tressa's cupcakes that were a certain flavor, Seth was all in, and somebody requested more cookies or something like that. On the regular, I was like, okay, we're food driven, this is great. So it was nice to see everybody here. All right, Mr. Figueroa, I am going to ask you to present both LRC and CASB together, if you would.
Okay, so CASB, just some reminders of upcoming dates. 28th of September is CASB's boardmanship. That's here in Durango in Fort Lewis College. It'll be from 10 a.m. to 2:30. The topics covered will be mastering the art of effective school board meetings, and the second topic will be legal topics that affect your district and students, and there'll be a lunch offered at that time. I know that some of us have signed up for it. Fall Conference and Delegate Assembly, that's in October 18th and 19th. I'll be attending that. And that's where we'll be looking at, the CASB bylaws and proposed resolutions. And I'll talk about resolutions in LRC coming up. And then, I also want to be sure that everyone is aware that CASB's 84th annual convention will be, December 5th through December 7th. And I know we're all signed up for that, plus we're bringing students to the leadership aspects of that conference. So just wanted you to be aware.
So where's the Casby Academy? It's at Fort Lewis?
It is. It's at the Student Center.
Okay.
Fort Worth.
I don't know, my calendar just didn't have where.
I love that you mentioned food. It's like we're food driven right now.
It's a long.
They will feed you.
I'm gonna go on to LRC if anybody else have any questions about CASB. Okay, so I'm gonna ask you to take a look at your emails because you should have proposed resolution booklet in your email from CASB. Those are the resolutions that we'll be voting on. So please, if you have any feedback for me around those resolutions, please send me it through email or, you know, let me know any way that you can so that I can provide feedback to folks. And when I vote, I'll be able to vote appropriately as the board would want me to. So just be aware that they're in your emails now. And you know, I have till October, you know, the conference is October 19th. So I have up to that time. I'll be leaving here on the 17th.
Okay.
The CASB also wants me to be sure that the board is comfortable with me being the CASB representative. So it asked me to make sure that everybody's okay with that for this delegate assembly. And they also want an alternate person, just in case something happens to me. Is there anyone that would like to volunteer as an alternate? If something happened to me, they would either go online or take my place.
I will be your alternate.
Okay, Emily, then we'll put your name there. Todd, I will say that they have a link to go onto this website and fill out some paperwork. Now, I tried to do that today and it wouldn't let me. So I can send you that link and maybe they want the district to do that. I'm not
Right, who
sure.
needs to do it?
Yeah. So I'll do that. Okay, great. So with that, I just want to review some laws that were passed last year that affect or could affect our district. There's about 4 or 5 of them. I just want to go over really fast with everybody so that we're aware. The first one is on the special education. There was a House Bill 24-1063 that changes the process for sending special ed students home early or prescribing a shortened educational day. That's changed because students weren't getting the hours that they were supposed to get according to their IEP. They put laws into place to identify, or a process in place to identify how districts need to make that happen as we go forward. That started July 1st, or it'll start July 1st of 2026, so we have a year. What I will say is that CASB is going to be sending a sample policy out that we must adopt. They don't say we have the choice to adopt, they say we must adopt.
Do you know when
So let's keep an eye on that policy, and if anybody wants to take a look at House Bill 24-1063, it's available. In addition to that, there is a House Bill 24-1320 establishing a task force to examine aggressive behavior against teachers which includes special education considerations. So that's a bill that hasn't passed, but they're looking at that bill. It might be another bill we just want to keep an eye on. I certainly will, and report back to you guys on what the task force is recommending as it moves forward. I put this in here because this next bill, because of our SRO, as we look to establish an SRO in our school district. There's a gun safety, there's two gun safety rules, two bills, House Bill 24-1174 and Senate Bill 24-131 revises concealed carry permit processes and prohibits firearms in sensitive spaces, which includes school buildings. I don't know that this affects us necessarily, but it does say districts with armed staff should review this process to ensure compliance. I don't think it affects us tremendously, but Todd, I sent you this, but I could send you it again as far as the House bills. I think it only deals with folks that aren't police officers.
Correct.
It deals
staff.
with concealed weapon folks. So it just might want to be aware, or staff that, there's some district that has staff that are hot, that
That was a conversation we choose not to
Yeah.
have again.
Then we have harassment, bullying, and Title V. Colorado expanded its bullying status. House Bill 24-1285 to include protection based on weight, height, and body size. In addition, Senate Bill 24-162 extends the deadline to train staff on new requirements from last year's Senate Bill 23-296. So basically, there's new training, and we just want to be aware that we're up to speed on it because they're expecting that to still be happening, the new training in the coming year. So just be aware of that. And again, I can send that to you if you want those bills. And then lastly, technology. With the rise of artificial intelligence, Colorado formed a task force to study it. House Bill 24-1468 bans AI deepfake in election, and that's House Bill 24-1147. And I just want you to be aware that Congress is looking at two bills that, if it passes, is directly going to affect what schools do with AI, or what they may be allowed to do. Whether Congress will pass it or not, just be aware. I'll keep an eye this year, see what happens, and let us know if there's any new developments on the AI front. In the meantime, though, they said districts are, that they're expected to work with boards of education and with the superintendent on policies around AI. And that's all I have.
AI is coming, whether we choose to want to accept that. Okay, I'm sure we have plenty to talk about this evening. Mrs. McWhorter, will you please start down the path with those Cs?
Sure. So we had our BOCES meeting on the 11th. Sent it out to everybody, so I'll just kind of hit the big things. Basically, as everybody's thinking, we were hoping to have a nice big discussion about what was going to happen around the possibilities of Montezuma Cortez potentially leaving, and we don't have anything at all yet planned. Royce did talk about having some scenarios and some different budgets that she's going to start giving to the superintendents at their meetings first, before she brings them. So hopefully she will have them to the BOCES board by the October meeting. That's gonna be October 9th. So as far as the BOCES board, we still don't know. The only thing that they keep giving us is that, you know, it's up to CBE to make their decision by November 30th. And they are bringing in a third party to create reports around whether or not Montezuma Cortez can be their own AU and can, basically that their students wouldn't be impacted and that the BOCES wouldn't be impacted. Last year when they did this, the ruling was that yes, Cortez would be able to serve all their students, but that it would be too detrimental to the San Juan BOCES. I'm sure they've learned a lot from their packet or from their application, and so whatever they submitted is going to change that. But the feeling I'm getting from BOCES is that they are kind of just waiting to have CBE force the issue with them. There hasn't been a lot of movement in that, and it's a little frustrating.
Well, they kind of need to wait, don't they need to wait till the application is complete to CBE before they can make their comments on it?
The application is complete, but it would, I guess for me, like I'm the okay, like I want to have a plan. Like I would like to know, like if Cortez is, if everything, you know, if they're allowed to leave BOCES, like what are we doing? Like, and it doesn't feel like anything's happening. I mean, and maybe it is behind the scenes, but like they haven't told us anything.
Right, so I thought that, I know as a board, we talked at our work session last time to try to get some information in a timely fashion from BOCES, at least a projection of what it would look like from a cost perspective for Mancus if they were to step out. Can we get that?
Todd and I, we asked, so we asked for, or we asked BOCES for a couple different things. We asked for the budget implications of, if Cortez were to leave and if BOCES were to stay basically as they are now, what would the budget implications be for us? And then also if BOCES were to really slim down, what would that be? And then also what would the impact be in services? To our students, and that's what we haven't got yet. So basically Royce is the executive director, and so she said that she's going to start those conversations with the superintendents and then hope to have that to us by the October meeting.
Okay.
So we just don't have any of that yet. So
It's a process.
it's a process.
But you're already starting down the road of doing the work.
Right.
So that we have answers before we're asked to react, correct?
Hopefully.
Maybe.
So,
We're
but
mindful.
either way, whichever way it goes, nothing's gonna happen until July of 25. So even if Cortez is approved, it does not take an effect right away. It won't until next year. So this year, everyone signed their MOUs. We're all set for this year. We just don't know about for next year. The other thing that they brought up is that they're actually looking at salary schedules, and as far as their master's level salaries, because all the other districts have had to up all of our salary schedules. Now the BOCES is actually behind in their master's level, so they're now looking to do salary increases, but all of that is also still contingent on what Montezuma Cortez is gonna do. So everything is just kind of like waiting on this November 30th decision. So it's kind of in there. I attached the Brandy's report from the special education director. I'm gonna let you guys all read through that. It's a very long report. The big thing that I got out of it was the 6-year cycle action plan. So if you want to click into that, it's actually an attachment into that. It's kind of cool to kind of see like where they're going, and there actually is like oversight into, hey, this is where you're at, but this would be a good idea to move in this direction. So look into that. Also looking at policy, CASB basically has handed BOCES hey, this is all the policy you guys need to review. So we were in the process of reviewing a lot of policy. So nothing actually got done at the meeting, but a lot of things are in the air. So hopefully.
Sounds like there's work that's in process.
Yes.
In process.
Yes.
And as a school district, we've asked San Juan BOCES to develop 3 work groups And we've asked for those work groups to be developed by the end of September. And those 3 work groups would speak to, one, an articulation of what services we currently receive, an articulation of what services we receive if Montezuma Cortez did receive their authorization to be an AU. And then also the development of 3 potential budgets, one being the smallest possible budget, one being a budget at current services, and another budget, which would be a larger budget based on meeting full compliance and more with all federal and state regulations as it pertains to special education.
Nice.
So
Is that the one they're looking to have ready maybe by October, or is that?
That's what
One
we're
down the line.
hoping for. They said they were gonna talk with the superintendents first, so I think Todd will get that information before I.
Yeah,
right, and we were first with making the request
Request.
because in their cycle of visiting districts, it turned out we were first to visit. And we'd spoken about this at the last board meeting, and we had this request ready to go for that meeting. So we had that meeting. One other thing to add is the superintendent for Montezuma Cortez has asked our school district and other school districts to write a letter saying that we would support his development of becoming an administrative unit. Last year, on behalf of the school district, I wrote a letter saying we were not in favor of it because there was too much to know at that point. At this point, I don't think we should write a letter either way. I think the most appropriate place for us to be is kind of agnostic to this point and see what sort of plays out. Does that sound acceptable?
Yeah, I think I would err on the side of abstaining from any opinion because of the fact that we expressed it once, the decision was made. We are now doing our own homework because we don't know what's coming our way. The state will be involved, and I would rather see our teams spending their time trying to figure out what impact is going to be one way or the other than writing letters. I'd rather look at budgets. I'd rather look at services. I'd rather you spend your time doing that instead of writing letters. That's my opinion. Because we will have a lot on our plate, one way or the other, that we need to dig into and figure out. Anybody else have
I would second that. I agree.
okay? Okay with that?
Yeah.
Ken? Good.
I'm there.
Yeah, I think we support you in that. Mr. Gordon.
Yep, no, do it.
Yeah, I mean, this is we've talked about this, I think it's worth bringing up again. We've talked about this month over month. No matter which way this decision goes for CDE, the impact of BOCES will be significant. And I hope that BOCES is aware that they have a lot of considerations to make that will impact their entire staff and every community they serve, every family, every child. It is a large, impactful decision that involves a lot of parties, and we're all waiting for the fallout, essential, which is unfortunate, but our duty as the Memphis School District is to our own student population and staff, and that therefore it is prudent for us to direct our efforts in that manner, and that's what we're doing. Good work to be done there. Keep watching your child.
Yeah,
She just keeps bringing back the information
I know.
as much as she can. It's hard to make it up, right? Just gotta wait. Okay, any other questions for Rachel about BOCES or commentary?
Good.
Okay, Mr. Cordray, it is superintendent report time. If you can give us your administrative report, that'd be great.
Okay, what I've included in my superintendent report is a really well-written document called the Memphis Early Learning Center Staff Resource Guide. This is a document that Tara Hughes wrote, the director of the Memphis Early Learning Center, as part of her evaluation and goals for this year to do an excellent job communicating with her staff and her parents on what are the values of the Early Learning Center and how will it operate, including all the academic pieces. So I really wanted to share this with the board just because I found it to be a phenomenal document. It's 259 pages. It's really well put together. It's super smart. It's both high level and operational. And I'm very proud of the work that Tira did. And I'm also just really impressed with the Early Learning Center for being just, so prescriptive in articulating their values and how well they're serving our 3-year-olds and our 4-year-olds. So I thought it was something that the board should really be aware of. The next thing is I wanted to just touch base on, just provide a little bit of information around an operational matter, just for the sake of keeping the board up to date, and just talk a little bit about Chromebooks. Every year, we buy Chromebooks. Our cycle for middle school is the Chromebooks are on a 3-year cycle. So the 6th graders, when they come in, they get a brand new Chromebook, and they keep those Chromebooks through the 8th grade. And then our high schoolers the 9th graders get a new Chromebook. And then when they graduate, they get to keep those Chromebooks as part of the cycle. The Chromebooks that are after the 3-year cycle for middle school, those are the excess Chromebooks that go to serve the elementary school, since those students have a less intensive need for Chromebooks than the other students. In addition to that, when we buy Chromebooks, the district buys the warranty with the Chromebooks, and that really helps us maintain the Chromebooks in a really good order. In addition, we develop a self-insurance pool by charging a $20 tech fee for all of our secondary students, so that money goes into repairing the Chromebooks also. And when a charge needs to happen that's not in your warranty, we're able to subsidize the cost to our families through that self-insurance pool. So it's a very thoughtful process that we're using. The other thing I wanted to touch base on was just a couple of things as it related to safety and security matters. We're having a conversation with some of our neighbors around the exterior lights, primarily at the PC, and how bright they are. So we're in the process of exploring those lights to see if they're too bright, to see if there's lights we could put in that aren't quite so bright, and also to investigate whether or not maybe shades would be appropriate to cast the light straight down onto our parking lot and keep them out of, their windows so they can sleep. We like to keep those lights on at the PC, way into the night, because we have staff here that work as a lot till 2 in the morning. Our custodial staff will sometimes work till 2 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And then also with our sporting teams, we have their property here when they go on overnight trips or when they get back late. And as you know, we've had a theft of a vehicle here too. So we're working with our neighbors on finding the right balance between privacy, being a good neighbor, and also the safety and security of our staff and students.
Didn't the architects in designing that parking lot meet the dark sky requirements of the county?
We believe so. And that was that's what we checked into. And that's what Jane's reported back, that we did meet those requirements. Whether or not that's correct, we're not entirely certain. The one north light, we're double checking. And really, we're doing that out of wanting to be a good neighbor.
Right.
It's very hard to be a neighbor of a school district because we have such density for this small town of, 6 people coming and going. So wherever we can be a good neighbor, we're definitely gonna want to do that.
I would recommend considering shades as opposed to changing out the lights.
Yeah,
So
bulbs
we're,
are not cheap.
yeah, we're investigating all those. Destri's doing an excellent job with that, by the way. The next item for safety and security is the town marshal as well as the Department of Wildlife is looking at trapping and relocating a bear that's been coming to campus. And so hopefully that will take place this week so that because that bear is pretty good size.
It's actually, it's a mother bear and a yearling, so there's two.
And she's
Okay.
running the river with her.
Yeah.
with her baby.
Yes. So I just wanted to let you know that the marshal's office, the Department of Wildlife is aware of it. And we're really working to go ahead and clear that so that we don't have a potential hazard here.
And the staff is aware. I
Oh, staff's
remember
fully
hearing
aware.
from the football team, they, I think, actually were the ones that saw it first, right? So everybody's keenly aware
Yeah.
that we've got to be on guard.
We have parent teacher conferences this week.
This
so
Thursday night.
just a good reminder to everybody to keep their eyes out, because some
Absolutely.
people leave late.
Thank you
Which
so
is
much
why
for
we need
saying
the
that.
lights on, so people can see the
So
bear.
they're all related, yep. So, okay, and then, the last thing, on safety and security is the SRO committee presentation. You know, I appreciated, the board and the really thoughtful questions for the SRO committee. That committee, being with them and working with them through this process, I couldn't be more impressed with those 10 individuals. They really approached the subject with a high level of scrutiny and to be critical, very bright, incredible work. We have a lot to be proud of with our community members, and I'm glad to see that we continue to make progress. And I wouldn't be surprised if we have it all wrapped up in November. But just excellent work by those committee members. And then the last thing I had is this week, Tuesday through Friday, is the CASE Superintendent Conference. So I will be leaving tomorrow morning to go to the CASE Superintendent Conference from Tuesday through Friday. And then in my absence, Adion Farrar will be handling any questions that may be coming up. And if anyone have any questions or concerns of me, they could always reach me by text or phone. I'm easy to reach. And the other thing I wanted to touch base on is during our work session, we had a really good report from Mankish United, incredibly compelling presentation by Katie McClure and the good work that they did during Summer Hub and how that had a positive effect on academics as well as behavior for our students. And the Mankish United now, as they go into their third year of existence, is now starting to reach out to the community members at the end of this month, September 28th, to start their first annual fundraising campaign. So I highly encourage our community to support this nonprofit that has just done a really good job for our kids. And then finally, the last thing I wanted to do is, and I'm kind of stepping into Chrissy's space here a little bit, but we did receive our audit, and she'll tell you more about that in just a moment, but we had a near perfect budget. I mean, we get year over year exceptional results and service from our business department, and that was clearly articulated and demonstrated with our annual audit. And Madam President, that's my report.
Anybody have any comments? Anything else to offer questions? I have a couple of just little things I wanted to just simply point out. I think the tech fee is $25. And instead of 20, I think it's 25. I was not aware as a parent that fee was basically serving as an insurance policy. Surrounding another district that is near us, they actually sell insurance policies to parents. They can choose to purchase an insurance. So what you're telling me or telling us is that we do it for our parents.
Mhm.
So we're already insuring our Chromebooks on their behalf and not asking anybody to take the extra step, and it's just already done, and Keith manages that. That's tremendous. I love that. And those Chromebooks are vital. I wanted to point out a couple of other things. I also echo your sentiments in terms of the SRO committee. The committee put in hundreds of hours in before presenting to us, between meetings and trying to gather feedback and meeting with constituents across the board in this community. And it is now, our, work as a Board of Education to back, that process with not only a decision, but work related to the decision, which is based in policy and practice. So we do have quite a bit of work to do, and we will do that collectively as a board and potentially go back to that committee and ask them for participation. We are not in a place where we are voting on the adoption of an official MOU and SRO on the campus. However, to your point, we likely, Mr. Cordray, are going to be headed in that direction by October, November. And that will be a decision that is brought forth in front of the board with all of that work behind it, as well as the work of the board behind it at that point in time. And so, my point in saying all of that is that the community know that it is still continuing to move forward, and the diligence is being done, and the process is being done with fidelity and care and concern. And I believe that the board was, I will speak on behalf of the board, impressed with what we received today. There's been so much asked for feedback, and that has been really good to see. So, okay, Mr. Cordray, I know that Chrissy is amazing. I speak her praises often, but she's also now a grandmother. Can we have her present audit first so that she may leave and go
Yes,
be with her grandchild?
I think that'd be a great idea.
Thank you very much. Yes, it's very exciting.
She's like, I gotta go. I need hugs and kisses. Goodbye.
Got a little bit of wait before she gets to bed, so.
That's right. I know.
So yeah, as Todd said, we had Chris Majors from Majors and Haley, come present our audit during the work session. I'm very proud of our audit this year. It was very clean. I felt like we spent our money, very well. We had a near perfect budget, as Todd mentioned. Our ending fund balance was about $3.1 million, which is a very healthy amount for our school district size. And this is for the general fund, so that's just awesome. When we finalized our budget in January of 2024, we had put in a beginning fund balance resolution to spend money on PBL, to spend money on the elementary ELA curriculum, and also to transfer some money over to cap reserve to help with some of these bigger projects that we have coming, buses, roofs, that type of thing, to the tune of $272,000. Well, we were able to not have to dip into our savings for those expenditures this year. We were able to absorb that within our current budget. So that's awesome. That's why we kind of have there was really not an increase in our ending fund balance from the previous year. So that's wonderful. The other thing that Chris and I were talking about earlier was our lunch fund was another highlight of the audit this year, where the revenue was up about $42,000 from the previous year, with expenditures being $29,000 less than the previous year. So we have a pretty healthy fund balance within our food service for the first time in a really, really, really long time. So kudos to Casey for the way she's running that department. She's doing a really outstanding job. To have those expenditures drop by $29,000 is basically what we give. We subsidize the lunch fund $30,000 every year. So that she's doing a really great job. So that was another highlight. You know, I gave you an ending fund balance sheet, and it says in 2020 we had 2.1 million, and now we're up to 3.1 million. So we've done a very good job as a school district over the last few years, managing our ending fund balance. So I'm pretty proud of that. We've worked really hard trying to become a healthy district, and I think we're there. So if we can work on this current budget and get that dialed in, you know, October count's right around the corner, so we're looking at that and looking at our numbers. Hoping that we come in pretty close to what we budgeted, and I think I can't even remember what number I budgeted. Do you remember, Todd? 486 on our new budget.
That's really where the rubber meets the road, is where the students come in when we're counting students on that very specific timeline in comparison to what our guess was the year before.
Yeah,
And there is movement among districts, people come moving in, moving out. We will circle back to that conversation, correct? And you will
Totally.
present again to say,
100%.
here's where we're at.
Yep, because we budgeted 486 students in our current budget, so I'm really hoping that we're gonna come in somewhere
may,
there. We have a few weeks left, we'll see where we end. But with our 24 budget, fiscal year 24 budget, I felt like overall it was a great audit. I don't know if there's anything else you guys want to add from what Chris had mentioned. I will work on putting things on the website, pie charts, bar graphs, more information for people to see a bigger overall picture of what's going on. The actual audit will be posted under our financial transparency within the next week. So that'll be there to view, but then we'll work on getting some more information. Yeah, exactly.
Relevantly, like, okay, go there to see this.
Yeah, so I'll work on getting some of that out there for people to kind of get an overview of what's really going on.
Well, one comment that I will make, it's not lost on me that we had Tim read a very long, motion to spend a lot of money a couple of times last year to the tune of $272,000, which you all were able to essentially not spend.
Yes.
Which means that was very prudent work on behalf of you all, managing that budget, running that process, and finding ways to spend appropriately and save appropriately. When I look at student count, knowing it's 13,000 per student, I think, about 13 grand per student, $272,000 of savings essentially over a year. If you divide that by $13,000, if our student count is off, we're gonna be okay. More than likely, we will have to adapt and we will move forward and we will be okay. So regardless of where our actual comes in with where we were supposed to be, we know that we're not down 100 students. That is not a reality we're facing. This is a process that we go through every year, and you all have the skill set to manage the expectation based on whatever that count might be in October. I'm not worried about that.
I'm not either. Not at all. I'm just excited to get fiscal year 24 closed out, and now we can focus and get our full attention on the current year budget. And with October count coming, helps me tremendously because I do need to know those numbers to where I can actually start fine tuning our budget and getting it dialed in for that January.
Very interesting to me also because, you know, as a board, we've gone back to fundraising policy and process, and it seems as though we really started to kind of hone in on how we are spending and the process of spending. And, you know, we've heard, I know about narrative of, you know, supplying things that we haven't supplied for a while. We found the money for, you know, new football helmets for safety reasons. We found the money for curriculum that was brand new. We have found money for asks that maybe were not, you know, year after year after year asks, that money has been found. However, on the same aspect, we're also kind of tightening things and saying, let's really spend where we know we need to spend, because, you know, whether it be a teacher, a classroom, a student, a program needs that funding. It seems as though we're looking through a different set of lenses, if you will. Would you, I mean, I would ask you, because you've looked at these budgets a lot longer, Tim.
Yeah, I'm very impressed with the audit and the way things came out and what we're looking at this next year, especially given where we've gone with salaries and stipends, and being able to give more money where we deem it very important for our staff and to keep and retain staff in particular. and for all the programs we've instituted
Pathways.
for our pathways programs and project-based learning stuff, that we are fiscally, it's showing that we're doing well all around, not just academically, which is a great thing and what our goal is, but we're also fiscally holding everything together at a high standard.
And I would point out that even though our ending fund balance is $1 million higher in 4 years, we also have a school, wasn't lost on me that Chris said, bigger school, bigger responsibility, bigger money, bigger cost, bigger savings.
More salaries.
Right, more salaries. It's, we're not shoving it away because we're hoarding it. We are hoarding it, but for appropriate reasons that are gonna come down the road that we
Costs more
know.
to operate,
Correct.
We have a better facility that we need to maintain.
and it is expensive. There's a lot of things, we fixed 2 roofs this year already. And we're also repairing another section
Right.
on the middle school. I mean, that alone was a chunk of money, and there's just a lot of maintenance that has to happen each year, so,
So it's not, my point was, it's not just salary.
no.
That's huge.
It's
In
huge.
fact, I'm gonna share a pie chart on that later.
Right.
That's the majority of money that we're spending. But it's more than just, instructional spend. We have a big responsibility in Colorado's oldest operating secondary high school, right? School, along with the rest of our campus, that was improved by $23 million or whatever it was many years ago, $25 million, to maintain that. So job well done to all of you. I have a lot of faith in seeing the trajectory over the last several years and understanding that you all are being very mindful of where those dollars are being spent.
Yeah, and the grant money that's been coming in has been very helpful because we've been trying to be strategic on how we spend it. I mean, we're learning to spend that better. I mean,
And tracking it.
and tracking it and getting better with the grant funding to where those one-time expenditures are being spent on that. And that's allowing us to have more money in a regular budget to pay for some of these other things. So, the grant money has been very helpful as much as grants are a lot of work maintaining them. They're very useful, obviously, for a lot of things. So that's also been great because our revenue has gone up because of the grants that we've been receiving. So kudos to Janet for working on all of the grants because that's a ton of work. And I appreciate her. I mean, I couldn't do it by myself. I couldn't do it. So anyway, we're all working very hard and I'm just very excited that the audit came out like it did. And hopefully next year will be just as good.
I'm sure.
We'll do our best.
Thank you, Chrissy. Go hug that baby.
Thank you very much.
Everybody good? No questions?
Any questions?
Sign anything, you could.
I've got it here.
Oh, yeah, she's got it on there.
Okay, good.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Mr. Cordray, I will ask that you guide us in the district goals conversation to further our discussion items.
Great. I think this is gonna be a pretty quick conversation. So these are goals that we shared that we worked on over the summer. They first started their development last spring. Over the summer, the board saw them, tweaked them, made improvements, made suggestions. And then we took it to staff in August for their information and support and ratification. We asked for their feedback and now they're before the board for adoption. And then we'll find an appropriate place to post them so that we can get them on the website and make them really clear so that we can challenge ourselves to meet these important goals over the course of the year.
Can you tell us if, specifically, if there was any feedback from your, because the last time I really dove deep into these was during the workday. Was there any specific, large movement after staff feedback?
No, they're really one of the very important things we learned from that staff feedback really pertained to process. It didn't really speak to the goals themselves. There wasn't any feedback in any sort of negative light on the goals at all. There was a lot of positive feedback that the goals were appropriate, that they were stretch in some areas, that we're gonna have to really see how they go and work hard. Everyone's gonna have to do what they're already doing, is that 110% to reach these goals. But that's what we want for a goal. We want them to empower us to strive for continuous improvement and to strive to always be our best. As far as process, that was what we discussed, and then we further discussed it as kind of our instructional leadership team, that we really want to front load staff on the development of the goals. And so the goals that we're approving tonight is only the second year in this process. So year number 3, the goals will start with staff, work their way up through administration, and then come to the board in June, and then back to staff for ratification, if you will, probably in August. Because I feel like that's really the most appropriate process, and that's really what we heard from the feedback also. And I know I've heard that from the board as well, that the board values that process change also. So I believe that's how it'll go starting in the spring as we start to develop goals for the following year.
Any commentary on the goals? Great. No. I will say one thing, because I always have something to say. Sorry. I want to point out, because I think it's really important to point out 2 things to be mindful of. One is next year, therefore it becomes prudent on us as the last set of eyes to ratify that the nature of the goal being rigorous enough is felt. That has been something that the board has been pushing for a very long time, is increasing the rigor of our education, right? Increasing the ask. And these goals are very lofty goals. I am not sad to see lofty goals, and I have confidence that our students and our staff can reach those goals. It also does not mean they succeed or fail overall. These goals are just that, goals. But I want to be mindful that it becomes our job next year as a Board of Education to ensure that those goals maintain the amount of rigor, and that we don't fall into a rut of setting a goal. It's like me, I make lists just so I can cross things off the list. Let's not set the goal just so we can reach the goal, right? Let's set the goal so that we can try to reach the goal. And if we don't quite make it, that's okay, but we got further than if we would have set a lower goal. So that's the one piece that I would point out. Especially at the high school level, there are absolutely some pretty significant asks at the high school level, which I believe are important. I'm a high schooler. But going from the 35th percentile to the 50th percentile is a gigantic ask for 1 year's time growth. I still think we can do it. I have faith, but I want to point out that's a big ask.
It's a big ask.
And Todd, I know that you are supporting your administration in doing so. And we do value all of the parties, which is why as a board, we stepped back and said we will wait, right? And then we're gonna post it and we're gonna talk about it. And we're gonna keep going back to it. And I think last year we did it during our strat plan and end of year wrap up, so we might want to just kind of put a pin in that as well. So very, very good work. In my okay. What do we want to, how deep do we want to get into our discussion of SRO, since we kind of did so a bit already? Does anybody want to give an overview as to kind of where we have come and the work we're doing now moving forward, or?
Well, we've had our committee that has had, how many meetings, Tia? 20
A lot.
20-some meetings?
It's like 16, 20 something.
Yeah, to put together a memorandum of understanding, stipulations on what an SRO is, what they do. It's all pretty good. The board now has to do its part in setting up some policies, setting up some oversight and some transparency kind of committees. And we're working on that, and it's moving forward. And it's come to the conclusion from the surveys we put out there that the community is generally in favor of an SRO. There are some that are opposed, but it's generally a favorable thing. And that our parents and teachers are on board with having that happen. Town has been gracious in working with the school to actually put the SRO on doing the employment part of it, working with the marshal's office, taking responsibility for the financial end of it. And that's a real key for us. And we're gonna provide space and provide, the opportunity to have another community connection.
One thing I think is really important to point out that I'll tag onto the back end of that I found really, really comforting in your share of information from a committee aspect was we had almost, if not, we could probably positively say, because we're crossing 2 years, every single secondary student provide feedback. And of those students, there was an overwhelming majority that felt safe around an officer. There was 2/3 of that majority had zero concerns around having an officer on campus. Most students believed that the SRO would make the student or the school better in terms of safety and security. And we only had 24 students out of 161 responses that were 24 were not in favor, 112 were strongly in favor of an SRO on campus, like if you were just a black and white yes or no. So that, we've been talking about student voice a lot over the last several months. And I think that to me rises up pretty significantly in hearing that student voice. Parent voice, staff voice, all very important. But these are the kids that have to come exist on this campus every day by no choice of their own to get an education. And they're essentially telling us that they feel safe and would feel safe with an SRO on campus and are not opposed. That, I think, speaks volumes. That's a significant ask. Saying all of that, we have a lot of work to do and we are prepared to do that. We committed to doing that. And now we will likely have a student possibly to even be a voice in that if we adopt a student voice in the month of October. So, really good work. I will thank you again, Tigo. You guys spent some time and it is absolutely recognized. Okay, there is a staff, I should probably mention, there is a staff guideline or document that has been kind of somewhat developed and we are looking to roll something like that into policy first and then crosswalk that into a staff handbook, which I know is something that you're working on with your administration. So that will come. All right, we are moving on to, is there any further discussion about BOCES?
So we kind of already had that.
We already
in there,
did
so
it,
I think we're
yeah.
good. Anybody else have any questions or anything you want me to bring up?
Okay.
Next.
All
All right.
Yeah. All right, let's look at objective 3C. We are slated tonight we did do a deep dive into review of this last month. We are slated to adopt the acceptance of this monitoring report for 3C. I will read the objective is that the Mancos School District provides students with non-traditional courses based on student input and teacher strengths. And it was recommended to us to adopt at standard, I believe. We would need a motion to do so.
I would move that we recommend objective 3C at standard.
Acceptance at standard. Do we have a
second that.
a second? Is there any discussion further around 3C or anybody want to point anything out?
I just want to say that I think that this is one of these standards that I think we're doing an exceptional job offering a variety of pathways, electives, and experiences for our students, more than I've seen in a lot of districts. I think we're leading the pack, certainly in this arena, this area here. And I'd say we're leading the pack in a lot of ways, or right there with some of the best districts, providing pathways and electives for students to both have all the academics that they need to have to graduate, plus the pathways and electives, and I think, I just want to commend the staff that's working on that, as well as Todd and his team, and making that happen.
I would piggyback onto the end of that. I spend quite a bit of time in Durango, just due to my son swimming there. And there's a lot of conversation around, project-based learning because of Animas High School and other schools in that, district where that is the 100% focus. And the commentary I get over and over is that we are a blend of both, because we still have that traditional curriculum and these pathways and PBL. But people don't feel as though, oh, well, there's no choice. It's a blend of both, which really is kind of the best of both worlds. And that's one thing that has been demonstrated in this particular report, is that we've managed to make progress towards being more successful with that demonstration. That is not an easy thing to do. Most often you see one or the other all in, and we really are a blended model, which is pretty cool. We just have to point it out, and we're doing that with that strategy. All right, Heather, call to question, please.
Craig Banali.
Aye.
Victor Figueroa.
Aye.
Tim Hunter.
Aye.
Emily Hutchinson Brown.
Aye.
Rachel McWhorter.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Okay, we are moving on to opportunity for consent motion for our A through I guess.
I move that we approve all items except F in consent.
Ah,
I'll second.
we have a first and a second. Discussion? We are pulling out the SRO.
Yeah, we're pulling it out, it just as an explanation, we're pulling it out because, we have work to do around policy and some work around, process as it relates to, feedback, that we would have toward, or for the SRO, when, during their evaluation. So once we get that done, it'll be back on our board agenda.
And the MOU, there were quite a few.
There were some edits.
Yeah, edits that we need to have done. The grammar police, which I love, has spoken, and so we will make sure that that MOU is finite before we're approving anything. So it will show back up, whether that be October or November. It really is kind of a toss-up at this point. And that's tremendous. Okay, so we have a motion, we have a second, correct? Heather, can you please call the question?
Craig Banali.
Aye.
Victor Figueroa.
Aye.
Tim Hunter.
Aye.
Emily Hutchinson Brown.
Aye.
Rachel McWhorter.
Motion carries 5-0. I think we're good with public participation. I want to just quickly remind everyone, although Victor, you did remind about the September 28th CASB boardsmanship, important. October 4th is homecoming. And I'm inviting every board member to please participate at our booster event. It has been tradition for several years that the Board of Education, if they can, along with Mr. Cordray, I know you've been there, as well as principals have been invited or asked as well. We typically will work alongside boosters, which, again, another public announcement, we have, I think, maybe 2 or 3 boosters members. We are very low on boosters this year. We really need some help. But we will be serving dinner that evening. We sell, and I think Tressa said we were doing hamburgers this year, and then we feed both teams. So we complimentary feed our own team as well as the visiting team. And I would ask that you all consider being there at 6:30, I think it is, on the 4th.
I thought it's, we'll have 5 on my calendar, but.
You could be there. She's not gonna turn down the help. And then October 18th and 19th, CASB Fall Delegate, Conference and Delegate Assembly, which Victor, you're going to be attending. And then future agenda items, obviously the SRO, or the MOU for the potential school resource officer, as well as student voice will be revisited, along with continued policy in October. And so with that, if there's anything further from anyone else, Craig? It's your last opportunity. Good?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? No? All right, meeting adjourned at 7:19. Thank you all.